Hello, and welcome to the Asylum. I'm your host, Don, and with me today, as almost always, is Jeremiah.
And we're going to be super serious like this movie apparently thinks we want it to be. I don't think they realize that the best Asylum movies are the ones that are not super serious and everyone's in on the joke. Or maybe everyone's in on the joke, but like one person who thinks it's a super serious movie.
The main character, usually.
But this movie tries to be super serious and it is not. So we're talking about Tomb Invader. And in true Asylum fashion, also called Tomb Hunter, also called the Tomb Heart of the Dragon.
That one is more accurate than the last
It
one.
reminds me of, I think I reviewed it one time. There was a horror film that was kind of like a Indiana Jones ripoff of people trying to steal tomb stuff like this, but it was significantly better. I'll find it later, but uh, this movie came out a week before the significantly better Elisa Vikander Tomb Raider movie, which if you're going to see a Tomb Raider movie, that's the one to do. It's more based on the newer games, which are more story-based and less jiggle physics-based. And it's probably the best acted of these ones that you're ever going to get. Not saying Angelina Jolie was a bad Laura Croft, but everything else around her was bad, so very bad. But this came out a week before, and it is a mockbuster of Tomb Raider. Supposedly takes place in China, but it's definitely filmed at Brosnan Caves National Park in California and in LA. Those trees are not Asian. And the cover is again made of lies. The cover has her in short shorts and with pistols. She never, in fact, wears short shorts or shorts in general. And the only gun she uses in this movie, she uses it as a club to hit someone with. So lies.
Yeah, so it opens up with the main character's mom, Julie, I think, and her
Julie, yes.
Yeah,
Julie Channing.
Yeah, her and her assistant and another assistant are investigating this temple that looks just like
Disneyland.
No, it looks just like the temple from that Nickelodeon show when we were kids.
Oh, yeah. A hidden temple. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks just like that. It looks like they just, like, were walking past Nickelodeon 20 years ago when the show ended, and they're like, hey, you should take this. You might need it one day.
Well, they could have used that lot to film. It was filmed in LA.
That is true.
But question. Okay, so they're searching for the mythical heart of the dragon in a temple in China. A temple, not a cave, whatever. So, from what I understand, they trigger a trap because they don't pick a key.
Correct.
And she and her team are killed. She throws her journal, whatever. But in her journal, she knows exactly which key to grab. And she had been given the exact same advice that daughter gets later. So did she purposely sabotage her mission and just die?
That's a good question. That is a good question.
Because it makes no sense why she would die when she clearly knew the answer, because her daughter had no extra insight.
Well, no, because her daughter was like trying to choose which key to grab. And then she remembered that she had to do the warrior mantra or whatever, and that's why she went with the warrior key. But I think that her mom grabbed the dragon key in the opening. I honestly don't remember though.
It was annoying. So then you jump 20 years later, and archaeologist.
Yeah, so everybody dies. Then we come 20 years later, opening credits, and they took one of the most famous scenes from Indiana Jones and did like
put it in the Middle East instead of the jungle.
The classic Asylum twist of instead of a boulder, it's a cylinder covered in spikes.
Rolly log?
A rolly log.
That would definitely fit in a cave.
It could and then it's like exactly the same. And then she gets out, and this dude's like gonna shoot her, so she beats him up. and then his 2 guards show up, and she beats up one of the other guards, which is when she uses the gun
To
as
hit him with.
and then the last guard is another woman. So they mock the classic scene that's in like every action film ever, where like the heroes stand there and the last guy's standing and he throws down his gun and then they have a fist fight. But it was 2 women instead, and it makes no sense because she literally had a gun just pointed directly at her and could have just ended the whole movie. But instead, we got a great fight scene.
Great fight scene.
Because Alabama Channing, that's our main character, not to be
Or
confused,
Allie.
not to be confused with Indiana Jones, or
But they named the dog Indiana. His name was Henry. Her name is actually Alabama.
that's fair.
Henry Jones Jr. is not to be shamed with his nickname that he got from a dog.
Yes. So turns out that she is working on her PhD. She's not a doctor yet. She's got a
So, but
master's.
she's a professor still, though she's because a lot of PhD students still teach in universities. They are the ones that do the lower level classes. And she is approached by Isabel, who says, "I work for the paper." Which one? The paper. We're going to interview you. Okay. Why do you like stealing stuff from other cultures? I don't. Okay, here's this.
Yeah, it was the most awkward scene. So like she walks up.
Great writing. Great writing. I
walks
work
up,
for the paper.
she
The
walks
paper.
up, asks Allie if she can speak with her. Allie, who's having lunch with 2 of her friends, not knowing this
Professors. 2 other
chick,
professors.
yeah, not knowing this blonde chick just came up out of nowhere, shoos her friends away to talk to this random woman who works for
The paper.
the paper.
Yeah, there's clearly only one paper in the world, right? Like
The paper.
even my town has 2, and
So
my
then
town has 7,000 people.
she asks her an aggressive question about being an archaeologist, which she apparently passes the test. And then she gets called by fat white blonde dude, Tim.
Billionaire Tim Parker.
Yeah,
I wonder if
billionaire.
he's one of the Parker brothers.
That would explain why he was a billionaire. She
He
gets
wants
called
her
up.
to meet him in China.
Yeah, like no preamble, nothing. He's just like, "Yo, meet me in China." But she got in her mom's diary from the reporter, which, since we're talking about incongruity, let's talk about the fact that nobody knows where this temple is. And her mother had the diary on her in the temple when she died. She like threw it outside of the door as she was getting murdered by the traps in this temple. And somehow, not Tom Holland, got his hands on it and gave it to Tim Parker, who then gave it to Allie, with no explanation on where on earth that diary came from.
And to add to it, so she brings her 2 friends, one of which is an archaeologist. Okay, Helena is an archaeologist who might also be her girlfriend, part-time lover, friend with benefits, whatever. And Benny, a geologist.
I love Benny. Benny is
a geologist who's most excited to be on a dig, and whenever he mentions how it's a dig, they all look at him like, "Are you what?"
He talks for like 7 minutes straight. Like
in time in the movie, he talks for hours because he clearly landed in a city, talked about how close people go, but you never see said city ever, or literally anyone that lives in the most populated country in the world until you get into the jungles of LA.
Benny's my favorite character. I loved him so much, and I need to stop getting attached to any side character in an Asylum. Because anytime I like a side character, he always dies. Like the fish and game guy from Blood Lake.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, I loved that guy. He's my favorite character. Of course, he dies horribly. Spoiler alert, so does Benny. He gets poisoned with a dart later. But anyway, so they meet up with Tim.
Tim.
And Isabel again. And
who's apparently Tim's like assistant?
not clear. She says she's there because he's going to get her into the Wall Street Journal somehow. But they're also apparently banging. So I don't really know
Well, and then
how.
there's Nathan, who is a freelance treasure hunter who they keep
Not,
on reinforcing that he only seeks monetary gain. And every single person who meets him ever brings that up. And he's like, really? Really? Really?
yeah,
That's what you know? That's all you know about me. Really? And he's good looking.
he is good looking. Uh, and he and Allie had like this weird brother sister sexual tension going on. It was somewhat reminiscent of the sexual tension in what was that Sarah Molecule Lane movie we watched?
Um,
The one about the end of the
100
world.
degrees.
Yeah, 100 Degrees Below. Yeah. It was like that brother sister sexual tension they had going on there between Allie and apparently Nathan, whose name I've forgotten. Not to be confused with the main character from Uncharted.
But let's put it clear. This movie's sexual tension is almost non-existent. They have lip service to it, while the other one didn't have lip service to it. It was just present.
There. I
It
guess it's
was
like the
present.
inverse. It's like the inverse of the sexual tension in 100 Degrees Below. But anyway, so we get introduced to Nathan, and then that night they get attacked by villagers of some sort who kidnap Nathan, who's literally the least popular guy on the team. So he's like the worst person to kidnap. But they kidnap him
And
and
kill
then and
Isabel.
kill Isabel immediately. Um,
And then Tim shows back up.
yeah, I'm not really clear what happened there. Like Allie went to go find him, I guess, but like she didn't have to because he was okay. But it turns out that like the village wants them to go get the heart of the dragon because Emperor
So and so.
whichever one who ran China at some point had like stolen it, and they thought that it would be like an item that would like bring together the Chinese people or something like that.
Yes.
Um,
But
and
you
then
can't have any pride in your heart. You can't be wanting gold. And apparently it's really bad to kill people, and his people killed someone and he was not happy with them.
yes, true. So then they go. So he leads them to the temple, and then while they're doing that, there's like a moment where Nathan promises to help Allie, which was just kind of like real forced. And then another moment where Tim reminds Nathan that he works for him and that he's trying to get the heart for reasons. I'm
And
not
Benny
really.
gets knocked out.
Yeah, and Benny gets knocked out. Poor Benny.
And also when they get attacked, it's hilarious because rather than sneaking up on them, the guy gets behind him and then he does his best Jet Li scream before attacking. Like, really? Really? You snuck up on these people and you scream and then you attack.
Yes, because that's how a good ambush is done. Um, yeah. So they get into the temple, and Allie has to read weird poetry out of her mom's diary.
She is looking out for traps while reading a book, staring at the book, and then going, oh, there's a trap. You should not be in the front if you cannot look where you're going because you freaking killed Benny.
You did. It's your fault, Allie.
Just like at the very beginning, the other guy, there was a guy who was with the mom who died by leaning backwards and like a spear came out of the wall.
Yeah. He leaned into the spear wall. I mean, what do you expect? You know?
But he was leaning against the wall already.
Yeah.
He shifted his back on the spear wall and a new spear appeared.
Yeah. Spear wall. You can't trust the spear wall, Jeremiah.
Well, Benny died from poison.
True. Also,
and then
who reset the traps?
And then Tim says he's not going to give the heart of the dragon to anyone because he wants it for power and because he's freaking rich and out of shape.
Because he's generic evil bad guy. So then they get to the part where her mom died, and they solve the puzzle for realsies, and they get this green stone that's shaped like a heart. Like, oh, we found it, cool. But then like, oh wait, that's not the heart of the dragon, that's the heart of the warrior. How they knew this?
Okay, this thing gets really weird though, because then like things fall down, and her female friend Helena gets
crushed, but she's
knocked
totally
over, and then they lift her up, and then they say, "Hurry, we need to get to Tim. He's stolen everything," but he hadn't stolen anything yet because he hadn't seen him yet.
yeah.
And then he confronts them, fights them, and he
'Cause he
somehow
asked-
incapacitates two better shaped people. And then the stoned guardian comes to life, basically
Which was
smacking Tim aside and
the
fights.
the best Stone Guardian ever, where they just had a dude that they painted to look dusty.
And then he just smacks Tim around, and then he fights the two of them, and then Tim flees. They do defeat the Guardian, though. It's a decent enough fight. The door opened. I like when he died. I'm like, oh, they just like made paper mache person now. And then they open the door, and the real heart of the dragon is a sword, a European medieval sword, a la like Excalibur, that for some reason an emperor in China had.
Yeah.
Before Marco Polo.
Yeah, so there's some other like really weird moments leading up to this where like Tim gets mad and convinces them to give him a map that we didn't even know existed up till that point. And then that's when he goes scurrying off and you don't see him for like 20 minutes. And then there's like this moment where Nathan explains like that Tim is using them or whatever, and they're like, yeah, duh. Like, obviously, like, come on. Like, do you think this is a movie? So like I appreciated the tongue-in-cheek moment of that. There's some weird, like, girl power moments. That was one of them where the women are like, of course we knew, but I thought it was funny. Yeah, and that's pretty much the movie. Oh, and then
and Tim dies when the ceiling collapses on him because he goes from a dead end. They give Jian the heart of the Chinese guy, the heart of the dragon. And he says, get anything you want. She says, any other relics we can look for? Doesn't say anything. And then they're back working, and Helena comes in and give her a very suggestive eyebrow, whatever, and they're off again. And by then it seems like she and Nathan and Helena are like a trio of horniness. I don't quite know. Attempted horniness. They're not really horny at all. I don't know. Okay, and then the movie just ends.
It was funny because like Benny like says something, and then Helena's like, "If I was straight, I would be into you." And I was like, "Wait, you're supposed to be a lesbian?" Because there's so.
Well, then she makes a joke that says she turned him straight.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "What?" Like, no, just no.
There's so little sexual tension in this movie that like everybody could just been asexual for any or aromantic.
Where's pod people when you need them? I mean.
But yeah, so that's the movie. It's not terrible. It's
just boring.
Yeah, it's just kind of boring. I think that if it had come out in like 2004 to go in with horrible backgrounds and all of that, then it probably would have been an all right movie. But
so one thing that's kind of funny is Allie and Nathan, they wear basically the same clothes that Laura Croft and Lou Red wear from the 2018 movie, which are the pants and the tank top, which is not what they have on the cover, because on the cover is what they had from Tomb Raider from before with the short shorts. But it's like, why didn't you just copy the movie that you knew you were copying? Nathan apparently was named after Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series. I don't know why they needed to tie that one, even though by then Tomb Raider was copying Uncharted after Uncharted copied Tomb Raider. It's kind of like a weird cyclical thing, but whatever.
Centipede situation.
Yeah. And yeah, the movie's just really boring, and they can travel to other locations. They have traveled to more exotic locations than this one. They clearly filmed it very quickly because a lot of the fight scenes were like, and we're done.
Like,
you had no time.
Yeah.
And I do admit though, the character motivation for Allie is a bit stronger than in the actual Tomb Raider movie, because in the Tomb Raider movie, mild spoilers to the beginning. So her dad is an archaeologist or treasure hunter or whatever, and disappears. And she's a rich heiress. That's kind of a Lara Croft thing. But at the very beginning, she's a bike messenger, or basically a bike messenger slash random fighter. Okay, that's what she's doing. She doesn't have to, but that's what she's doing. This one, at least being an archaeology student,
Yeah.
makes more sense for doing some of this. But at the same time, the other one made more sense why she could do all the crazy stuff that Lara Croft has to do in these movies. It's not a good movie. I'm going to show you some of this for a second. I'm going to share my screen, because the covers for this movie. This is one of them.
Archaeology just got badass.
And also, that doesn't even look like the main character.
It's not.
She never dresses like this. There's no pistols.
Yeah.
In fact, there's more water in here than the entire movie has, too.
Of
course, this is the main cover. That's the actual actress, you can tell. But again,
Yeah.
and in this temple, it doesn't look like the temple they went to. And then there's this cover. This looks just like the game, the second game.
Huh.
None of these represent the movie.
Yeah, so it wasn't a horrible movie. It wasn't bad acting. It was okay acting. But there's really, it's a movie. That's it. It just is like an hour and a half that exists out there that was probably filmed in 4 days. And that's really it. There's, Jeremiah, you got anything else?
No.
This is down there with whatever the last movie was we talked about, where it's like it's not terrible, but I would never recommend anybody watch it for any reason. Like it's not that so bad it's good. It's not so bad you can just mock it, and it's not got any like good qualities to it. It's just a movie. It exists. It's a thing.
It's another one that I definitely compare with something like Days of Thunder,
Yeah,
a movie I've referenced multiple times. It's a movie. It exists. It was made.
it's a thing.
You can watch it, and then it's done. I don't think they made any sequels to this one.
Yeah.
I don't see why they would have made any sequels to this one. Come think of it, why would you make a sequel to a movie that hasn't had a sequel come out yet?
You could have made an Uncharted movie.
I think they did. I'm pretty sure they did. Let me scroll down here, see if there's an Uncharted looking one. Devil's Triangle, maybe. Jungle Run. That's probably it.
No, Jungle Run is Jungle Cruise or whatever. The one that the Rock was. Yeah.
Okay. Devil's Triangle, maybe then. We'll find out. Are you ready?
My Nightmare Landlord. Yes. Wheel of Asylum. Turn. Tell us the movie, and we will burn. Hang on the top.